Hey YouTube, it's Marida and welcome to another edition of the Nurse Lounge. And in this edition, we're actually going to continue my series. I am back now. We're going to continue my series of my narcissistic marriage, my road to recovery. And today's topic is my exit strategy. So if you want to see what I'm talking about, stay tuned. All right, and we are back. So my name is Dr. Marida P. As you well know, I'm a registered nurse, and I am in the process of getting a divorce because I am married to a narcissist. So with that basically being said, let's talk about my exit strategy, what I did, what I decided to do, when I decided to do it, and kind of where I am in that process as we speak. So let's just go ahead and go all the way back to 2000 and let's say 16. This is 2020, so 4 years ago. I had basically prayed. And actually I prayed before this, but I had prayed and said to God, I said, please reveal the real from the fake. What is it? Should I be leaving this person? Give me a sign or whatever, something along those lines. That I wanted a sign that says, okay, yes, it's time for you to go. So what ends up happening as a result of that in 2016, where he just started throwing these adult tantrums and having fits and things like that. And just, we had started losing things in terms of him being irresponsible. So therefore, he wouldn't pay bills. Our lights would get cut off because I thought he had paid the bill, but he hadn't. It would just be on and on and on and on. So anyway, those were some of my signs. Okay, like, you've been dealing with this for a while now. So let's go ahead and now prepare for your exit strategy. Well, I knew at that point in time, I only had a 4-year-old. My youngest one was 4. My oldest son was, I want to say, going on 7. He was 7 and 4. And I was staying for the wrong reasons. I was staying because I did not want my boys to not have a father figure in their life. But then I got to thinking about it. I'm like, they don't have a father figure in their life now. In this current situation, they don't have a father figure. So am I doing them more harm or more good by staying? So I just made up my mind. I said, you know what, for my boys' sake and my girls too, I have 2 older girls, that I need to show them that women, this is not what women think is, how do I say this? This is something that women should not be accepting. And so I needed to show my boys that women don't tolerate this. And so in order to show them that, I had to demonstrate that. So I decided at that point in time, it's time to definitely move on. So with that being said, my exit strategy, I had to come up with a plan in which I could eventually be on my own as I am now and be financially, I won't say secure, but be in a place where I could not have to depend on his income. Because at that point in time, I was in a situation where I was working 4 and 5, maybe 5 and 6 different jobs. He was working 2. And 2 jobs. I was working 4 or 5 jobs or 5 and 6 jobs or whatever, just to make sure we had what we needed for our son, because our son was in preschool, and pre-K costs money. It's not free. It costs, like, I think we paid $1,200 a month for him to go to pre-K. So with that being said, I knew I had to figure out a solution where I could get him through that. Also, that was the same year that my daughter started college. My oldest daughter, who is now 22, was 18 at the time. And she started college. So I know those 2 things were very expensive. So I need to make sure I had a plan in which I could make sure that they got through what they needed to go through, my oldest and my youngest, and then, figure out something from there. Well, after that had happened, my mom had passed in October of 2016. And once she passed, I knew that I had to start focusing back on me again. So with that being said, I was trying to figure out how my plan was, how I was going to do things. And I basically come up with the conclusion that, I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to go back to school. I wanted to get my doctoral degree, but I could not get my doctoral degree until my son finished pre-K, because I could not afford to pay for my schooling, and I could not afford to pay for his tuition for pre-K and to help my daughter if she needed it when it came to college, all at the same time. So at that point in time, I just did my research and I figured out what school I wanted to go to and did all that. And then I just basically gave him an ultimatum. It is now April of 2017, and I get my interview letter to say that I had been interviewed. They want to interview me for my position for my doctoral program. And then on April 28th of the same year, 2016, I got my acceptance letter. At that point in time, right there is when I said to him, you have 3 years to get it together. And again, hoping he would, but in the back of my mind, knowing that he wouldn't. You have 3 years to get it together. This was my last ultimatum because I had made ultimatums for the past, up until that point, probably 12, 13 years. Or maybe 14 years. I had been given like, do this. If you don't do this, I'm leaving. And I would never leave. So with that being said, he would call my bluff every time and know I wasn't serious. But this time I made up my mind that I was serious. So I enrolled for school every single semester. I had to pay for tuition and things like that. And then as time went on, he got worse and worse and worse. That's why I tell you people, narcissists never get better. They get worse. They never improve. They never grow up. They get worse the older they get. So do not stay for the sake of thinking he or she is going to get better, because they do not. I repeat, they do not get any better as time goes on. They get worse. And so I'm up here going to get my doctoral degree at this point in time. And I, had to cut my hours back. I have, as a nurse, we have to do clinical hours. And so clinical hours means you go to a setting and you learn how to do, whatever you're going to school to do. And so my clinical hours required me to cut my work hours back to part-time instead of full-time, which meant I had to depend totally, or not totally, but more so on him with his 2 jobs that he had. And when I tell you we made it by the grace of God, because we barely made it. I'm telling you, with my cutting my hours, and I cut my hours, and with him working, we had a little bit of disposable income to begin with, but we had none once I started my clinicals. So in 2018 is when I started my clinicals. And I think it was the summer of 2018, or was it summer of 2019? No, the summer of 2019, I started my clinical hours. And so for that last year and a half, it was rough. It was really rough. But I would take a little bit of money here, a little bit of money there, and put it back. And I had, mentally making plans. What am I going to do with the kids? What I'm going to do if he decides he's going to up and leave, which he did. What I'm going to do when he decides he doesn't want to help me financially at all, because he's gotten mad, or he realizes we're getting closer to time that I'm going to put him out. And that was the arrangement. If you don't have it together by the time I graduate, which would have been in 2020, that's this year, then you have to go. And so he never got any better. He would do a lot of future faking. And future faking, if you don't know, is when they will tell you or make promises that they never come to fruition. Oh, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get a better job. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. He would always say he's going to do these types of things. But by this point in time, I called his bluff, because I knew he was not going to do those types of things. And I already knew I needed to come up with a plan in which I could take care of financially my children and myself. Luckily, in my situation, the house that we live in is rented for now, and is in my name. So it wasn't an issue of having to split anything or whatever. I just said it's time to go, So I had started noticing, though, with my exit strategy, he began to realize I was serious. I had started removing his names from different accounts. So like my cell phone bill, it wasn't a joint account. It was under my name, but I had he had a line on my account. I took his name completely off of that, so he had to have his own phone service. Anything that his name was tied to that was tied to me, I took his name off of it that I paid. I took his name off of it because, again, I'm setting the tone that this is about to end. And so with that being said, fast forward, April comes, and I actually defend. I sit for my defense of my presentation for my doctorate degree. I finished that presentation. At this point in time, he hadn't really been here since probably about February or March. So the whole pandemic, shall I say, when the pandemic got bad, he was not really here. It was just me and the kids most of the time. He would pop in and pop out. But in terms of him actually being here, because he knew it was about to happen where he's going to find a place to stay. And so I had started noticing he also trying to make arrangements because he ended up having to, he transferred his job, which he didn't tell me anything about. He quit another job, which he didn't tell me anything about. He started moving money around. So he went and got another account, which I knew nothing about, which, that's fine in general. But the thing is, your kids needed things that you wasn't providing for. And so with that being said, the kids needed things and I wasn't working. So it was always an argument about, okay, we need food. We need this. The boys need that. And he was not providing for those things. So it just led to a lot of discourse and arguments. So when it came time for me to, I think it was end of May, by the end of May, or the middle of May, because kids were out of school because of the effect of the pandemic. So they had just kind of closed schools altogether. And so the kids were here day in and day out. And he was not helping in any aspect with financial, with food, taking the boys to get haircuts. He was not doing anything at all to help in that regard. So everything fell upon me, plus the fact that, we are in the middle of a pandemic and we don't have any money coming in because I'm not working as much either. Everybody got their hours cut. Everyone, it was almost a worldwide thing, got their hours cut and things like that. So as time went on, I had been putting money aside. But at the same time, I wasn't expecting him just to walk off and leave, in May. And he literally came in, got the rest of his stuff, and we have not seen him since. It is now, as of this video, the end of November. So my son did play football this football season, and he did show up to a couple of games. But outside of that, he has not sent a dime or did anything to help us whatsoever. No calls for the boys, nothing like that. He wants to come pick them up and take them to McDonald's and things like that, but he doesn't want to do anything financially to support the children, the boys. He has sent pictures to the boys via their phone that he got a dog, but like I explained to my boys, okay, he can pay for a dog and to pay for the food that the dog has and to pay for the dog to go get shots or whatever the dog needs, but he can't pay for you all to get haircuts. He can't pay for you all to have food. He can't pay for, your football or your cleats, or he can't, school's about to start back. He didn't pay for any of the school supplies, anything like that. So everything has been on me. So when it comes to my exit strategy, did it work? Yes and no. It worked in the sense that I had a plan. So make sure you have a plan. I had a plan 4 years prior. And as time went on, I put a little bit of money here, put a little bit of money there, did different things. But then, of course, the pandemic happened, which we were not planning for. Nobody planned for the pandemic. So, hours got cut, so we had to utilize some of that money. And then he up and left. I never would have thought that, well, I guess I would have, because he's selfish and narcissists are selfish. So I guess I should have thought about the fact that he was not going to financially care for us or his children in any aspect. But yes, he has not done anything for his children or me since the end of May. And so since then, though, I have a job. I've always had a job, but I have now a better job since I finished my doctoral degree. I graduated and I have a better job and I can now take care of my kids on my own financially. Does that mean he shouldn't be paying? No, it doesn't mean anything like that. But I am happy to say that I no longer require or depend upon his income at all to take care of the kids because I can do it all by myself now. So, but that took some time to get here. Again, my exit strategy started 4 years ago. So I really encourage you all, if you're trying to move on, to come up with an exit strategy. It is no different than any other way of planning anything else. You have to have a strategy in what you say, I'm going to slowly remove myself from the situation. Now, legally, yes, I am still married. Legally, I'm still married, and I'm actually trying to get through the holidays. Once I get through the holidays coming up, then I actually plan on going through the process of starting this divorce process. And so some people are like, well, why didn't you start it before? Well, honestly, it's not that it has not been a priority, but divorce is not free here. So I had to kind of regroup. I had to do things on my own. I had to learn how to be self-sufficient completely. When you have a man in the house, they fix things, they do things. Well, things had to be taken care of in the house. So I had to take care of things, and that costs money. So things that require money for me to fix, because it is a rented property, so they will fix things, but there's other things that I needed, that were more important than starting that process and putting thousands of dollars to that. However, in the new year, I will start that process, but it's after I make sure that my kids have the things that they need. I want to get through the holidays first, if that makes sense. So anyway, I just wanted to come on here and talk about exit strategy and why it's important to have one. Because even with the exit strategy, sometimes it does not go as planned. And sometimes they will still leave you high and dry. And you need to figure out, where can I stay? Where can I get some money? Who's going to take care of my kids? And that has been the biggest struggle for me, is who's going to take care of my kids? Fortunately, but unfortunately, or however you want to look at it, because of the pandemic, we're in a hybrid school schedule. So, and where I teach at, an associate professor. So where I teach at, we also are on a hybrid schedule. So it allows me some flexibility to be with the kids and not have to worry about finding sitters and things like that. They are older boys, so they're not requiring a babysitter per se. But still, I can't leave them for long periods of time. I can't even leave them for more than like an hour or so, because they're 11 and 8. So I can leave them maybe about an hour or so. But for the most part, we have it worked out. So be thinking of your plan in that regard, your exit strategy. Should I, who's going to watch my kids? Who's going to put them on the bus when that time comes? Who's going to get them off the bus in the afternoons? Who's going to help feed them? Because with the pandemic and us being home, they're eating more at home than they are at school. And our school system does have free breakfast and lunch. And if you are on the hybrid days where you're actually home or virtual learning at home, they do provide breakfast and lunch at the school, but you have to go pick it up. And so for me, it's like, okay, I can't go leave the house, go pick up some food and come back when I'm supposed to be at work. So that doesn't work in my personal situation. But definitely be thinking of your exit strategy. It is so important to have a way out, a way in which you can say, okay, you know what? When you're mentally say, I'm done with this situation, I'm done. What can you do to get out of the situation safe, financially sound, and mentally sound on top of that? Who lives where? What are the housing arrangements? Are you living with him? In my situation, it was great because he had to go. I didn't have to go because this place is in my name. So definitely keep on watching these videos. I'm back again. Like I said, I had to take a break because I was working, and I am I teach. So school's about out now, so I have more time to focus on videos and getting things like this up. I definitely will continue this series with my narcissistic marriage, my road to recovery. Thank you so much for watching this video. Feel free to follow me on IG. My IG page is really a nursing geared page. However, my life is over there as well. So if you happen to be interested in nursing, or just want to see what someone who's going through a divorce, or, struggling through that process, what I do and what it'll look like on the other side over there, definitely follow me on IG. And that is pretty much it. I'll see you in the next video. Take care.